So, once again, we want to honor the generations that are now taking the responsibility for not only making awareness about the problem, but also fixing it. So, Xiye, Sally and I wanted to do a generation-to-generation conversation, an appreciation of what your leadership is manifesting in New York City in 5 weeks hence, when you'll be striking with all of your colleagues from around the world. And we just wanted to have a little chat. This doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out affair, but if you wanted to just kind of speak a little bit to that, wrapping up the end of this whole summit.
And we want your advice. Okay? We want her advice to our generation.
So earlier today I was interviewing Paul Watson, and I asked him, when you were striking when you were 17, did you ask adults to join your movement? And he said, no, we were rebels. Why would we do that? But now times have changed, and this is different because the climate crisis that we're facing is really affecting everybody right now. But we saw it today. We had fire and flood, and it's happening in a building, but it's going to happen outside as well. And that's why this strike is different. And the strikes we've had before are only youth, and you could look at us and point at us and say, they're just kids who are being rebels, and that's what kids do. But right now, we're acting as messengers of the science that you have culminated. We are messengers. We're messengers of everything that has been done, because we cannot grow up to get there, and we would love to. And I wanted to be a biochemist, and I love science. So that's why September 20th is different, because it is going to be a catalyst for the engagement of intergenerationality, so that we can also solve this crisis together. And that is where we're heading, and that is what's happening right now.
So the march in New York is on September 20th. And you and others have been organizing, not just in New York, but around the world. Tell us a little bit about what's happening around the world. How many and where?
Yeah, so Greta Thunberg started striking on August 20th of 2018, which is 1 year ago in 2 days. So we're very happy that she's gonna have her 1 year anniversary of striking. And from there, she started as a single person, walking out, demanding change, and that grew into a movement. And that really shows how one person can change the world, and you can't stop us because we are a movement, as has been said before. So the strike started happening in Sweden, then they expanded all over Europe, and now we have over 120 countries organizing, with over 6,000 people pledging to organize for September 20th. On March 15th, we had 1.6 million students striking worldwide. Then we had 1.9 on May 24th. And now on September 20th, we want to have millions of people striking all over the world. And what you need to know about global strikes is they happen every 3 months. So it's not like September 20th is going to be it and then that's it. We're going to have one right after that. So, you know, the US is very behind. In Copenhagen, they had 320,000 students striking on a regular Friday, by the way. And us, in the biggest Friday that we've had, we had 5,000 students in New York. And that's why we need all of us to come together. Because the US is a country with over 300 million people. And why aren't we all outside demanding change?
Greta, the last time that Sally and I were in New York striking, but we were marching. We were marching as part of the climate march in 2014, and I believe those numbers were pretty large. I think that we had about 600,000. What can we expect in New York on the 20th this year, do you think?
So we were planning for millions of, New York City has 8 million people, going to 9 million right now, and a lot of people are flying in or coming in to be part of the New York strike because of the UN summit and Greta being there. But we were told by 350 and other adult organizations, our adult allies, we were told, don't expect more than 20,000. And we said, how are you limiting our vision to 20,000 people? So we really want this to be over 500,000 people at least, because that's the precedent that we have. And the outreach that has to be done, you can help with that outreach. And we are doing that we've been doing this for 2 months already. And the kind of outreach that we're doing is creative. So we're actually having people sing in subway stations, and then they ask, what are you singing for? The climate strike. We're having art builds, we're having climate poetry, we're having music shows, we are writing our press release, writing op-eds, and we've been published in the UN, well, not published, but our press release was shared on the UN website, and it was posted on many other newspapers. And so we're really reaching people through social media, through news outlets, through the press that we get as individual strikers, and through engaging our community into letting them know what we're doing and how they can get involved.
So what do you expect to happen at the UN specifically in their negotiations? What do you want to be different, or what do you think actually will be a result of your march?
So the reason why we strike outside of the UN every Friday is because the UN represents the international community of leaders that can affect change in their countries and in their communities. But we do know that the UN cannot hold governments accountable. But we can hold our governments accountable. And that's what's important. International agreements are important, but we need to tackle local policy, state policy, federal policy. And in New York, we passed the CLCPA, the Dirty Buildings Bill, and it's all because of international agreements. So what we're hoping is that the September 20th climate strike is going to put pressure on international leaders that are going to meet on the 23rd. And that's why we chose the 20th. There is no other reason rather than we want the international community to say that they're going to protect our future.
Wow. So, how can we in this room help you achieve your goals? I, for one, will stand in solidarity. I will strike with you. I will commit to going to New York. Maybe we should ask to see a show of hands and see who else might want to join us in New York City to do that. Okay, so now you have the AREDAY family, but maybe you can say.
Yeah, if you cannot come to New York, don't worry. If you go to strikewithus.org and put your zip code, you're going to be directed to your local strike. And there's over 100 strikes nationally, so no matter where you are, there is going to be a strike, and if there's not, you can host your own.
Host your own strike.
And at what time? Where do we need to be and at what time?
Where, okay, so there's the 4 W's. Where, when, what, and who?
And why?
We got the why.
So it's going to be at 12, and we don't have the permits yet. Permits are very hard to get in New York City, and park people are very hard to deal with when it comes to permitting. So our preferred location right now is Foley Square to Battery Park, which we know is very downtown. And it's going to start at 12, and our wish is to bus in kids from the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn who are not in Manhattan, because the reason why our numbers are low is because students cannot travel all the way because it's going to take them an hour and a half to get back home. So we are actually implementing modes of transportation so that everyone can get through a strike. So yeah, why? Because we have to.
So are you going to take a delegation from the strike directly to the UN? Can you get in? Can you do a sit down in the UN?
So the UN is going to be massively protected because of the summit. There is no way for us to strike there, but we are actually going to be inside the UN in the Youth Summit. So I know Alexandria Villaseñor, my co-leader in New York City, and I are both going to be in the inside in the UN Summit representing youth.
Can you explain a little bit about what you think will happen at the Youth Summit that day inside the UN?
So right now everything's very abstract because they haven't given us any schedules, and they are scheduling things on the 20th, and the strike is the 20th, so we want them to respect that the strike is the 20th and not interfere with it. But what we want to happen is to build relationships with international youth who are arriving to the summit, because that's one of the most important things for our movement to grow organically and internationally in a way that we actually know who we're talking to and connecting with.
Are you asking for any specific policy or specific changes that actually the heads of state could say, oh, we support that, we support this?
So we are not pushing for pre-existing policies, but we have demands, and we have 4 core demands. 1, keep the fossil fuels in the ground. 2, just transition to 100% renewable energy. 3, keep below 1.5 degree of warming from pre-industrial levels. And 4, address people who have already been affected by the climate crisis. And if you don't know, there's 600 governments who have declared climate emergencies since the strike started. So we are also asking everyone who wants to support the youth movement to declare climate emergencies in their countries.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Can we only have 1 more minute, so that means 1 question, and I see somebody back there with their hand up. Now I think you need to have a microphone or else nobody will hear you. So here you.
I'll stand up and shout it out. I just need the website again.
Website.
Strikewithus.org.
Strikewithus.org. Can we have a big hand for our youth leader, please?